Of the draft Brexit negotiating guidelines that the EU Council President Donald Tusk is distributing today. The leaked document says bilateral talks between the UK and EU members will be banned and a free trade agreement will be finalised after Brexit, i.e. the two-year time horizon. Tusk will then give a press conference, which we're anticipating will start very shortly, but the timings of these things can be a little bit flexible. Joining us now from Brussels, Bloomberg reporter Jones Hayden. So what have we learnt thus far from these guidelines, Jones?
Well, one of the main takeaways is what you just mentioned, is that there'll be no finalization of a free trade agreement with the UK until after it becomes a so-called third country. So after the end of the Brexit talks, after the two-year period, after the UK is out of the EU. The other thing coming through here is that they're going to insist on a phased approach to the talks. So the idea that the UK has tried to insist upon that there'll be some kind of parallel discussions going on is not what the EU is looking for here. And remember, with the clock ticking, the EU has the leverage in this now. They hold the agenda power, if you will. In the first phase, they want to talk about the UK bill, the exit bill. They want to talk about the rights and obligations vis-a-vis the UK, and they also want to talk about guaranteeing the legal status of EU citizens. Then they'll see about moving on to the other issues.
The UK has maybe a different view of all of this. How much of this, you talk to everybody in Brussels, you have a sense of what is going on, your ear is to the ground. Are we dealing with opening negotiating positions here, or are these sustainable positions that will last through this process?
Well, the EU is all about negotiating, and I think these certainly are opening negotiating positions. But it is very remarkable the way that the EU 27 has maintained its unity over the last 9 months, over the all that's happened since the referendum back in June. So it looks pretty strong at this point, and with the clock ticking, they have the opportunity here to really remain united. Now these guidelines are going to go to the national governments. They're going to start a month-long discussion of them before the EU leaders have a final decision on them on April 29th. So we could see some fissures coming in there. We could see some more debate and whatnot, but it looks pretty strong from the EU perspective at this point.
Just finally, talking about the bill. Does the bill need to be signed early? Does the bill need to be agreed early? Because there is some sense that nothing is agreed until everything is agreed. And I'm just wondering how those two things kind of fit together.
Yeah, well, I think the EU is insisting on both of those things, but at least the outlines of the bill, if you will, the exit bill, need to be agreed upon from the EU perspective before anything else can be discussed. So they can discuss it and they can come to an agreement, but I don't think the EU is going to move on until the UK, puts a figure on, agrees to a figure for how much it's going to cost in order for them to leave the EU.